Hey, I'm Andre,
And I'm Jesus.
and welcome back to the Let's Go to the Movies podcast, the podcast where every week we have a new guest and we talk about a new genre, a new movie, and you won't know what movie it is until we start talking about it. This week we are joined by Jasmine, and we're going to be talking about 80s slasher flicks, and so the three that we have chosen are Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween. Jasmine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey guys. My name is Jasmine. I'm really excited to be on the podcast. I was one of the crazy few who found Andre's TikTok and kind of went haywire, messaged him on TikTok, filled out the form, messaged him on Instagram. So I was very happy and excited to get invited in. I'm kind of a little bit of a mix of both Andre and Jesus, where I don't have any background in film. I have no teachings properly, I guess. But I want to be in film one day like Andre, but also I'm just a huge movie nerd like Jesus. And so I'm excited to get in, and yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Perfect. Yeah, we're really glad that you're here. So I guess to just start it off as usual, we'll kind of do a round table of our thoughts on all the movies and do a rating out of 10, which we skipped a couple times already on the podcast. We'll try to keep that a regular thing.
Oh yeah, that's true, huh? We forgot this on the other episodes.
We forgot about it last week, but that's
first
fine.
Things first though, what prompted you to choose these movies? What do you like about these?
Of course.
So I mentioned this a little bit when I talked to you guys previously, but I kind of grew up in a very odd situation where some of my first favorite films that I remember ever having were horror movies, which I guess is a little unconventional.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I just remember in elementary school when everybody else was coming as pirates and princesses dressing up for Halloween, I was the kid showing up as Fred Krueger and
Nice, yeah.
And so it was just something that ever since I was a kid, me and my little sister have just been obsessed, I guess, with slasher films, because that was just something that we watched as kids, and it was the first thing. My little sister's like me, complete movie nerd, and we're kids that all we had was television, so we looked up as much information on movies as we could when we were little, and now we just have too much in our head. And so when you guys were like, oh well, what would you like to talk about, I was like, might as well go with something that I have a little bit too much information on, which is
That's great though. That's exactly what we like to have here.
Yeah, that's so fun. That reminds me actually. Have you heard that streaming service Shudder? Right, it's just nothing but horror movies.
Yeah,
I need to get a subscription to that.
I do too. Surprisingly enough, I don't have it yet, and I've been getting more and more ads on my.
Same. Oh my god.
Yeah. And eventually, it's it's starting to look a little cool.
It does.
Oh,
How much is it though?
$5.99 a month.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Holy jokes, that's actually
It's a little bit
good.
more. That's a little bit more than the Student Prime subscription.
A little
So
bit.
could be tempting. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm just trying to remember. Jesus, did you see all three of these before?
Okay, I've seen bits and pieces of them, and I know a lot from these movies, but I have never officially sat down and watched them before.
Okay.
Before then,
Cool.
so
We'll start with you then for the initial
except
thoughts on it.
except for Friday the 13th. I think I did see that once with my mom. Yeah, I did. Right off the bat, of course, classic horror movies like the what's it called, the special effects and everything. You get that I don't want to say nostalgic feeling because I wasn't really around then, but I want to it's like an older feeling, right? It's oh yeah, that's the classic slasher movie I know and love, So the difference, Friday the 13th, of course, that one stuck with me more because I had seen it before. No, not Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street. Why do I keep confusing those two? Anyway, it was I really like the way they build the suspense with the hand, coming out of the water. You remember that scene?
Oh yeah.
And Friday the 13th has the classic, the gore and the horror and everything else like that too. Oh, speaking of, have y'all seen the remake of that one?
Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that. I think
it was on Netflix for a while. It was brutal. It was
Yeah,
worse than this one.
Yeah.
It was bad. It's cool though.
I've seen very few of the remakes of older horror films, but I should because I've heard that they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
A little bit. As for Halloween, though, that's the one that I knew like the least amount about.
Okay.
Like with yeah, like story wise and everything else wise. Like, because
Yeah.
I know the characters and I know what happens and everything else. It's just like the deeper intricacies of it. I just wasn't really that sure of. But yeah, overall, I like these the most. I will say, if I had to rank them, I'd say Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and Friday the 13th in that order, from best to worst.
Okay. Interesting.
Not to
yeah.
say that Friday the 13th is bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's valid. I mean, we'll probably all have different opinions on different things. So,
Yeah.
Jasmine, you can go next if you would like.
Most definitely. So, with my history of these films, the movies I've probably seen the most is the entire Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Okay.
I've seen them more times than I could count, and it's kind of embarrassing. But I definitely think that's my favorite of all. Halloween is typically seen as the classic starter of the 80s slasher franchise. The Halloween actually came out in 1978. And
Yes.
so that was the thing where we've had slasher films before, but it started the whole entire like tsunami that took over media then of, oh, I want to see more. I want to be more on the edge of my seat every time I see one of these types of films. And so I do have to say, like, Halloween's a classic, always go to. It started so many trends in the horror films.
Oh, yeah.
But also, just Friday the 13th has the storytelling that I guess some of the other films don't, where it goes very in detail with the family members as to, like, why everything's happening, where Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, they kind of give you a highlight of what's going on, and they have like flashbacks of this is why this is happening, but they never give you a full explanation until you go like way further in the franchise. So I have to give it to Friday the 13th for, like, in the first film you get a complete layout of what's going on, this is why it's happening, and it sets up a really good storyline. So my ranking would probably be Nightmare on Elm Street as the number one. And then I would actually put Friday the 13th and then Halloween.
Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah. As for me, I have like a love for horror films. Like, it's definitely my favorite genre because it's like so versatile. You can like literally do so much with it, and there's so many things that haven't been done yet. But yeah, as for these ones, like three like of the most classic franchises in horror film like history. And so I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street twice now, including the viewing for the podcast. I haven't seen any of the other ones. I really want to, because I know they get super campy and like self-aware, especially with New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, I've seen the first one like 2.5 times, because like we kind of like I was watching with my friends. It was like 3 a.m. and we passed out halfway through. But then I've watched the majority of that franchise when it was on Amazon Prime this past Halloween, but I couldn't get through it in time before they got rid of it. So I've seen like 7 in the Friday the 13th franchise. And as for Halloween, that's the one that I have seen the most. I would say maybe, I mean, it's still not a lot. I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times, and like that's the one that, it's one of the earliest horror films I remember like my mom introducing me to, because she loves horror films as well. Like, she always grew up reading Stephen King, which she made me end up doing too.
Oh, that's interesting. I had to sneak and watch the horror movies that I knew when I was a kid.
Oh damn. Yeah, like she would just like show me, it's like, oh, this is gonna be on TV, we're gonna record it, and like we're gonna watch The Exorcist, we're gonna watch Poltergeist, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm 11. Okay, this sounds fun. But yeah, so like that was always a super enjoyable experience for me, and kind of for that reason, even though it might be the more basic answer, Halloween is always going to be at the top for me, just because it's like I can like have more of a history of like, I remember watching this with my mom. Like, this is like earlier in my introduction to horror films, and also just it's John Carpenter, and I love The Thing, and like just
Mhm.
the way that he could like infuse body horror into his films later, because he didn't do that with Halloween really.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be my number one. Nightmare on Elm Street would be number two for me, because it's also Wes Craven. I love like the Scream franchise and like just the way that he can put together like a horror storyline and everything, and it's also just the most outrageous one out of like those three franchises, and it's because you never can really expect the visuals that you're gonna get at all, because it's all stuff that like subverts your expectations. And then Friday the 13th, like even though I love that franchise too, it'd be number three, but like that's not at all meaning that I don't like it. It's just more so like its importance to me. It's just because I've only
It's a little
recently
down there,
watched.
yeah.
It's just because I've only recently watched them. I don't have as much of a
Got
history
you.
with those ones.
That's right.
You got that personal bias. Huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'll just say that. That
Yeah.
works. But
They were
yeah, so,
fun
like,
movies.
they are. They
Are.
really are. Like the one thing that I wanted to kind of mention, because I also found it really interesting, is that the horror genre at that time was like the introduction of so many like now famous actors and actresses. Like in those three that we watched for this week, Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th,
Yeah, I'm looking at
Johnny
the cast right
Depp.
now.
Yeah, Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street, and Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. Like that's just insane.
Yeah,
Like-
that was the film debut for each of them.
And that's just crazy because, well, now they're not associated with those. But well, actually, Jamie Lee Curtis is like now again associated with Halloween, because like, oh, they're making the sequel to the remake in a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, and the next
Oh,
2
word.
Yeah, I think that one's called Halloween Kills or something like that.
The thing that really really caught my eye was Nightmare on Elm Street. I did not know that Glenn was Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I just told you that like
Because-
10 minutes ago.
Yeah, before we started the call, like I was looking at the thing, I was looking at the ratings, and I saw the cast. I said, Johnny Depp? What? And then I look him up, and it's like that. I see a side by side picture. They look nothing alike.
Yeah, he changed so much. That was actually my first movie that I ever saw with him before, like I ever saw Pirates of the Caribbean or anything.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you know? Okay, so you know him from then. Okay, because I know him. Yeah, because I know him from like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? From,
Oh god. He does not look like the same man in that movie.
No,
It's
from
a
like
different person.
Pirates of the Caribbean from Edward Scissorhands. I haven't seen that movie actually.
Oh, you need to.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just so weird seeing him like that.
For sure. Oh man, it's insane. Like that's how so many people got their start. Like Jennifer Aniston in the Leprechaun franchise. Well, the first Leprechaun movie.
Yeah,
like
the
that's
first
like
one.
such a weird deep cut to think about, but it's like seems so common for like that
From horror
time
movies to
period.
rom-coms and stuff.
Yeah, or like just having her start in that genre. It's like it's like so obscure in a way, because it's like these one-off like low budget like slasher flicks that they're just in, and then all of a sudden boom, they're famous stars. Well, Kevin Bacon was also in Tremors, which
Yeah.
were like another weird sci-fi
Oh, that was a
horror
fun
type
movie. I
thing.
like that one. Yeah.
One thing I was really curious to hear your thoughts on, Jasmine, was the difference in style between the three franchises, because like they are categorized like equally together, but like vastly different in the way that they're told. I mean, they have like a killer who's immortal, seemingly immortal in all
Yeah.
three franchises, but like
Mhm.
that's the only thing that is really the same at like their
Yeah.
core. So I'm curious to like know your like hear your thoughts on the different ways that those were put together.
Yeah, no, most definitely. So the biggest thing, like with the starting of the whole slasher films with Halloween, it was set up from the beginning when John Carpenter was like creating the character that he wanted Michael to be someone that in the end cannot be destroyed. He wanted someone that was always going to be a ongoing killer, which I thought was so crazy because a lot of films are set up, we have a bad guy, we're going to get the bad guy, we get rid of the bad guy. And occasionally it became a trend with a lot of franchises where they do come back multiple times. This was one of the first films where he said from the beginning, I want this to be an ongoing story. I want us to go into the history of Michael. And he also said, I want it to be simple. I want this to scare people because it's realistic. And that was something that started a whole new trend because we horror films like Psycho from the 1960s where Norman Bates was killing people, but he was more of a crazy person that didn't cope with like all kinds of things that happened to him, and so he wanted something similar with Michael, but he was like, I want this to be more out of this world. I want this to be more something that's gonna haunt us for days and days. Like not everyone's gonna have a Norman Bates where he's sitting in a hotel and freaked out about his mom's death. Excuse me. But we can have a Michael Myers who he is psychologically unwell. There's something else that's inside of him that's keeping him going, and he's living in our same neighborhood. Like this is the guy down the road, this is the guy living in our hometown that we've known since we were kids, and he's out here murdering his entire family, killing everyone around him. And so that was something that like really set it apart back then. Was it thing that you watched and you came home, you locked all those doors, you were in your bedroom like
out of pure paranoia.
Yeah, it started a whole new thing where people were just freaked out to be home. And I thought that was a crazy thing that changed with horror in general with slasher films. And Friday the 13th pretty much picked that up. And they're like, well, we're somewhere that people go that they feel safe. And now we're going to completely change that. And for them, it was camps. You always go.
Like summer camp.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when they went, they were... You feel like you can be there, you're going to sleep in your cabin, you're going to be safe. But now, there's someone in the lake who can get me. And it started a whole entire new freak out of people like, is it safe for me to go? Is there going to be a psycho out there trying to get me? And
it's interesting that you mentioned that because, with the... and then, I'm not sure if you don't mention this, I didn't mean to, like, intervene like that. But you're talking about, like, these characters being like injected into their safe places and everything like that, and it gets pushed to its very furthest extent with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like
so true. Oh my god.
Because like you're safe when you're asleep. You don't have to worry about anything when you're awake. But
and Wes Craven ran with that idea. No, not even when you're asleep. There's no way of escaping this, and that's the thing that. I just have a soft spot for my Nightmare on Elm Street films, is that it's just so out of this world and something that I couldn't possibly think of on my own. And this man said, oh yeah, there's going to be this guy. He's coming out of nowhere. It's someone that you trust or you thought you could trust. He worked at an elementary school as a janitor.
Right,
and
yeah.
He became this killer that not only is he killing my family, he's killing my children. So my kids aren't safe. That created a whole entire new fear of parents back in the 80s because there was so many kids that were disappearing. That was around the same time where kids on the milk boxes were really big.
Yeah.
And when he had
yeah.
lots of interviews, that was a big inspiration. He's like, I want to pick on that like fear that parents have and make it bigger. And so it was so ingenious to me that Wes Craven, he ran with it. He's like, when you're asleep, when you're dreaming, even if people who are lucid dreaming, and that's something that I would love to like hear you guys talk about, like how they talked about how dreams came to life. Just each one is made so differently, but picks at the same fears that each person has. And then that's when a lot of people start saying, well, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want the lights to turn off. I want to keep the TV running in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. And very good point about like invading your safe space. That's absolutely like a through line with all of those movies. And like you could even say that for any horror franchise too, like Child's Play with a kid's doll. Like that's they're invading the safe space of a child's doll.
Oh, but yeah, with child's
but
toy.
Like yeah, and so like but focusing again like on those three franchises, like it's insane like how impactful those movies have become, because even when I was a kid, before even knowing what those movies were, I knew Michael Myers, I knew Freddy Krueger, I knew Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
And so I was afraid of that imagery of these characters, those masks, but I never saw those movies yet.
Yeah.
And that's like really what made it like so much more elevated for me personally, because it's like, dang, I was like terrified before even knowing why I should be terrified.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the characters that stand out the most, is what I've noticed about these older slasher films and everything else, right? Like, you may not remember like all of the Scream movies, you may not remember what happened or like all the twists and stuff like that. You just remember the white mask,
Yeah. Like,
and the
Yeah.
knife, yeah.
That's very true.
And
like,
I know they what were you saying?
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know they tried to do the same thing on Netflix. Have you guys seen Slasher?
I haven't yet. No.
I
I
haven't.
haven't. Okay, but I haven't either. But I heard from my sister. She said, she was explaining to me, and it looks like they were trying to do the same thing, because, like, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, why did they departed from like these classic things, like we're starting to go into. Wait, actually, Nightmare on Elm Street was like one of the first ones that kind of dipped into psychological horror, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
because it starts like infecting your brain and stuff.
Yeah, and
it's
they
like,
go deep into that in the franchise too, about just the
eventually at some point, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen. Have I seen? Okay, I think I've seen all of them, of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Oh, nice.
How many are there?
in
4?
there are
Yeah, I've seen 3.
there's actually 9 total.
Okay, so I have not seen anywhere near.
Wait.
Really? Hold on. What?
There's 9 with the original actor Robert Englund as Fred Krueger, and then there's
Okay.
reboots without Fred Krueger. One only got actually released, the other one got dropped.
Oh, damn.
Why did I think there was
Okay.
like 4?
There's 4 of the original story of the Dreamcatcher,
Oh, okay.
and then they continued the story.
That's why.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Was the
So-
4th one, was that one New Nightmare?
No, so that's actually the 7th film is New Nightmare.
Oh my god, I am so off with the timeline. I thought that was the 4th movie that came out.
Hold on, did I watch the right movie? 1984, right?
Yes. No, and
Okay.
funny thing, like, just to, I know that at home can like see this, they can hear it at least. Y'all, just so that you can see the amount of things I wrote down. This is all that I could remember.
Oh
And then
wow.
made
Oh my goodness.
notes
Yeah, for
I didn't remember.
just as a reference, her entire piece of paper is just like written top to bottom, and there's even stuff on the margins that's sideways.
It's a,
Yeah, she has 2 full pages written
On
there.
a
Oh my
legal
goodness.
pad, yeah.
I
Dang.
like came in and I was talking to my coworkers because y'all, I've been so obsessed with like coming on this podcast. I'll be like, y'all, I like forget what I'm trying to say, and like they mention something and I forget, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Write it down," and I like was busting a move writing stuff down.
Nice. That's a lot more preparation than what we do sometimes. So like,
Yeah.
great on you, honestly.
Yeah,
No,
that's
anything-
awesome.
I probably would just come in blind and hope for the best.
Mhm.
But my brain just was a little bit too much about the Nightmare on Elm Street film, so I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll like bring some fun facts. So I have a few.
Nice.
Go for it.
But yeah, of the like original 9, like you were saying, Jesus, with the original 4, it's called the Dreamcatcher Children franchise.
Mhm.
Because
Oh.
around the same, I guess, era of kids from the 1980s through the 1990s.
Mhm.
It's pretty much like generational. He goes after each generation that goes through his hometown, Springwood.
Oh, okay.
He's
Interesting.
a Springwood slasher, but he just became so notorious, people just call him by his name,
Mhm.
Fred Krueger. And I just think it's so insane how detailed these people like went in on the like later films, because they not only gave him a past and a future and like filled in all the spaces of like when he died to when he became this like powerful entity.
Mhm.
They didn't need to do that, but they did.
No, they didn't.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and the movie that you were mentioning, Andre, the New Nightmare, pretty much
Yeah.
like you mentioned, like being self-aware. For anyone like that doesn't know about this movie, it's something that was super unique at the time. It came out in '94. Pretty much, it was the actors acting as themselves, and their movie characters coming to life and affecting their real life.
What?
Yeah. And so Robert Englund was being haunted by Fred Krueger, the girl who played Nancy in the first film. Her life was being torn apart, and Fred Krueger was going after her real life daughter, who was also in the film.
And Wes Craven was in it too, which is
crazy.
It's the only thing I know about it, really.
Yeah, it's something that, like, if you ever just randomly have time and you're like, let's watch something crazy, watch that film.
That's kind of like the that's the thing that I'm starting to see more and more often, like in the Human Centipede movies. How like the movies before were movies in this movie universe, you know?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The previous movie was
talk about it, and they're like,
yeah, they talk about it like it was a movie.
Yeah, like the existence of the movies is crazy, and I'm low-key happy it ended where it did, right around the time when they released the new Nightmare. The only movie they released after that was Freddy vs. Jason, which was kind of a throwback.
Mm-hmm.
Also, weirdly enough, one of my top 10 favorite movies.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the weird things where they have a tie-in with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. But the reason, like, it's one of my favorites is because it brought it back to, like, the original 2 films where it talked about the original story.
Oh.
It pretty much dropped all of the in-between that you get with, like, the however many Friday the 13th movies, all of the original, like...
Oh, yeah.
It, like, pretty much just starts from the beginning.
That's what Leprechaun did.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so smart that because it got so much hype that these two were getting crossed, but it also didn't cloud it up where people who've probably never seen the Nightmare on Elm Street movies or the Friday the 13th movies could watch Freddy vs. Jason, like Andre, you just knowing those two characters and be like, oh, this is a good standalone movie, and they fill you in with everything that you need. So I love it.
It's like a better version of Alien vs. Predator.
Yes, it is.
Damn. Like, I'm really curious to know, like, how they tied in those two universes, because, like, I've only seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and I've seen 7 of the Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, like, was there a tie-in with, like, some of the surviving characters or something like that, or was it just they stumbled upon each other?
Yes, pretty much they made it.
Like the Spider-Man meme?
Yeah, pretty much they were like, oh, you're in this universe too. And Freddy pretty much uses Jason to make people scared of him again. And it's it's pretty much it was saying, hey, Freddy like lost all of his power and no one's scared of Freddy anymore. But he's like, people are scared of Jason. People are terrified of Jason. So
that man's like what, like 7 foot tall?
He is like 7 feet tall, and he's like, I'm gonna use this guy, and I know that he has these trauma issues from the original movie, and so they pretty much play homage to that and say, hey, your mother is out here and she wants you to kill again. And Jason's like, oh, mommy wants me to do this? Okay, bet, I'll do it. And Freddy takes all the credit for all the death. And so people get scared of Freddy and Jason until they pretty much face off. It's incredible film.
That's awesome. I want to see that so bad. Oh my god.
It's a wild, like, trippy ride, but it oddly works so well together.
Who made that exactly? Like, was Wes Craven, did he have any hand in it, or?
He did not. I'm going to look this up while you guys can, like, talk.
Well,
yeah, sure.
Because the thing that I'm wondering is, like, was it just some random dude that came in, like, you know, it would be really cool if they kind of duked it out, you know? Like, because that's what it feels like Alien vs. Predator was. Like, wow, what if we saw these two people fight?
Or if it was,
then,
it was potentially, like, if the two franchises were owned by the same studio, then it could be easily hiring a new,
like that.
Like, hiring a new director to do that, because that's what seems to be the most difficult thing to do. Like, for Alien vs. Predator to have happened, those two franchises needed to have been owned by the same company, or there was some deal between the two companies. Licensing deal where there was like a collaboration between the two companies that owned those properties. But like, because that's like, it's the same genre, but it's clashing it all together. It would be as if they tried to make a DCEU movie with an MCU movie together. That would be like so much money for Marvel and DC to like actually collaborate. DC and Disney to collaborate on that.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much Sean Cunningham, who was the creator and director of Friday the 13th, was friends with Wes Craven because they both created Last House on the Left.
Oh.
Wes Craven gave him permission to work along and create the film, so they gave the idea to the director Ronnie Yu, and he ran with it.
Awesome. Okay.
So,
that's really cool.
The original directors had an idea and pretty much gave it away. But they did really well, and they used the original actors as well, which was nice.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
For sure. Oh.
So, the original Jason Voorhees is 6'5".
Oh, 6'5". I felt like he was way.
What?
Damn.
I thought he was like 7 feet. I think in like Mortal Kombat or something, they made him huge, or like
for sure.
And then little old Freddy Krueger at like 5'8".
Yeah, or something. Yeah. That's true, because like the only thing that's really scary about Freddy is the way he looks. He's like not a very overbearing presence.
Yeah, he just kind of looks like a crispy hot dog, you know?
He's just a guy.
Yeah, no, his only like fear factor he really has is like his ability to manipulate himself pretty much.
Yeah.
He pretty much
and the hand thingy.
Yeah,
the goofy stretched out arm shtick that's like in the first one. I love that so much.
I forgot that happened, and I was literally laughing so hard because I was like, I forgot how just like I guess like far back like practical. I don't even know how to say that. Like practical setups of like gags, I guess that they do.
Yeah, it was all practical effects. Like that. It wasn't. I don't think it was CGI. I don't think they had the ability to do that back then.
Only CGI moments that they had were the blood. Anytime that they had blood raining was the only time that they CGI'd a lot of that.
Oh, that's interesting.
A lot.
Yeah.
Fire was practical. A lot of the falls and all kinds of different stuff was practical. And pretty much the only time that they CGI'd was a lot of the blood factor, which I think is another just like really cool thing. Comparing the three movies of like deaths and stuff, and how realistic things looked, I think Freddy Krueger has the best kills of the three murderers.
Oh, for sure.
Weird thing to say, but just the way that you can like see the aftermath versus just a person laying there with a knife in them. I think that the amount of imagination that went into all of Fred's kills was incredible.
Oh yeah, like the creativity of it all, like Johnny Depp getting sucked into his bed.
Yeah, and then it like
it was weird.
The reverse waterfall, like the mother who just gets like sucked into like the portal in her bed and all that, like that's just insane. The one moment that I'm very curious to know how they filmed in the first Nightmare on Elm Street is when I forget the character's name, but I think she's the first to die. She's like writhing on the ceiling while the boyfriend is just like sitting up staring at her. Yeah. Like, I'm assuming it was like some type of superimposition. But like it's like so seamless. I was like looking at it, I was like, I can't tell that the boyfriend was placed into this shot because there's no way that they had her crawling up there with harnesses and stuff. Like that was definitely just flipped over.
Yeah, but then you can like see them both. I thought that was such a crazy thing too. Oh my gosh, I don't understand majority of how they do any of that, but I thought each killing that they had in the Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, was crazy. Like Tina being on the ceiling, Rod. My brain can't wrap around how they had the blanket going around him and going up above. And that it's spring on it, but my brain tells me no, and so I don't understand that either. So all of it is just insane to me. Yeah,
there's so many. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say something about Glenn's kill. It was like it was a really old mattress because whenever he sat on it, he bowled into it.
Oh my god, that's so true.
It's like shaped to him. Like ew, bro. Like
it was
that 30-year-old mattress.
It was just empty. There was nothing inside of it.
Yeah, and he gets like sucked in through it.
Oh my gosh. The whenever there's like those insane practical effects in Nightmare on Elm Street, that's like, it's so impressive. But
Yeah.
then there's like one moment that I'm like, okay, if you didn't expect it, then it could have been scary. But because I know it's there, when I rewatched it, I was like, this is the dumbest shit I've seen. It's
Mhm.
the mouth on the bottom part of the phone.
Oh,
I'm like,
Oh,
that
yeah.
is like, it's so goofy, but I love it. It's so dumb.
I
Man.
literally, they continue that, like, the campy, weird, like, Freddy creatures that they have. They do that throughout every movie, and it's the funniest thing ever, because if you think about it, if it was done now, it would look way different, but at
Yeah.
the time, they were trying to pretty much make a good one on a budget,
Hmm.
and you could tell on a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere there is a prop collector that has that phone.
Oh my god.
I need
And
to find them and keep
I
it.
want to. Yeah.
That would be so funny.
Any like replicas of it or something like that? Man.
Honestly, everything.
It reminded
goofy.
me. It honestly reminded me a lot of like the Evil Dead 2 and like
Yeah.
that level of campiness, like with a bunch of different moments,
Mhm.
like because it felt like just the way that like the mouth on the phone moved. It felt very stop motion-esque, which is exactly how a lot of Evil Dead 2's moments were filmed. It's like I was just loving every minute of it when I saw that part.
Yeah, no, it was so cool. I love it.
Okay. I wanted to focus as well on. We talked a lot about Freddy's introduction into like his world, like his backstory. I want to also talk about. I want to kind of shift over to Halloween because we've talked a little bit less about Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Myers, because I always thought that the fact that Laurie Strode is Mike Myers' sister was like in the first movie,
Mhm.
but I rewatched it. Clearly, I was wrong. It must be in the second one then, right?
It's not until the third movie that they even talk about them being siblings.
Really?
Yeah.
Ha-
Oh my god! What
Yeah,
the heck?
The second one, they don't really focus on her as much.
Like that's in
and-
the hospital, right? Yeah.
Yes. And
Okay.
they focus more on the psychological evaluation of Michael and how he needed
Right.
treatment. And then they eventually go back and they're like, oh, by the way, the reason why he has this affection and like affiliation towards her and like wanting to do whatever to her is because they have the sibling bond. And you're like, where did that come from?
That's like some Freudian Oedipus level shit there.
Yeah, it was. I think it was definitely something that was like thrown in and not exactly like planned at first. And they're like, "Oh, that would be a cool tie-in for us to do."
It's true because, like, I mean, it does seem kind of strange in the first movie that he's hyper fixated on Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if I'm remembering correctly, she didn't do anything that caused him to like constantly follow her. He just started doing that, really. But like, yeah, I was completely off. I don't know how I knew that information then, because I've only seen the first and second. That's really weird. What?
Did you not see the newer one?
I haven't yet. No.
Because the entire story of the new one is about their sibling connection.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Like the one that came out like 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's on my list. Like, it's on Netflix, ready to be watched. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But yeah, like, okay, cool. So it was introduced in, I guess technically the fourth movie then, because the third one is the weird Season of the Witch with the masks
Yeah,
that blow up or something like that.
that's the one thing with the Halloween franchise. They go down a very weird path that I haven't looked it up to see if like there's multiple directors that took on the story over time. I haven't looked into that one as much, but they go down a line where they talk about how Michael's soul was given to Satan at some point, and how he has this demonic presence inside of him, and that's what gives him the urge to kill. It's kind of out of left field, but
Okay, yeah.
like I think the sixth or so film.
The main question I have is, why was there a mask in the hardware store?
Oh my
It's
god.
a hardware store. Why is there a silicone mask?
That's
like,
so true.
just a regular old mask with a little bit of hair on the back. You never know if you just need to
Yeah.
protect
And then like,
yourself.
what chose him to grab that? Like, I was like, let me grab this real quick. Like, just like what?
Yeah.
Like
I-
it's like
Say that's not a question they'd ever bring up, and Jesus, you need to find this answer.
that
Yeah,
is so
man.
funny.
And
oh my god.
a fun fact: the knife that he uses, I actually have one of those kitchen knives. It's like a Victorinox, like one of those wooden ones.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a chef's knife. That thing is like this big.
That's
I think
crazy.
it's like 8 inches, 8.5 inches, something like that. It's
Oh
a
my
giant
God.
chef's knife. Yeah, that thing's intimidating just using it. I use it to cut watermelon. Well, not anymore, because there's no watermelon in season, but yeah.
It's alright. Oh man. Damn, but yeah, that's it's like the whole thing with the way that I like kind of just know very limited information about how the series goes. I just know that there was like the weird one-off movie for the season of the witch that makes no sense.
No,
And
as they go, I don't think any really connect other than Michael. And I think that's such a strange thing. And like I said, I need to do more research to find out why it went down the way it did.
yeah,
They start talking about him having a connection to demons, and that there's like this all-powerful source pushing him to kill. And it's not at all mentioned in the first like 3 or 4 films. I don't think it's in the 5th or 6th movie. And then they pick it up when I believe it's Rob Zombie redid it at one point.
yeah, in like 2007, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The entire thing was that it was like a Satanist cult thing, and that he was like getting all of these souls and like killing everybody. And
Oh, that's very Rob Zombie.
yeah, gory to be gory. It was raunchy to be raunchy. Don't recommend it in the slightest. But
They also make the kid Michael very creepy looking in that one, whereas like in the original, he's just like a sweet little innocent kid
Yeah,
that
he's
like
a little kid.
that
And
just killed his sister.
yeah,
Yeah.
that he was the normal, like,
As you do as a wee tot, right?
yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
Kill my sis.
Oh man. But yeah, like I know that at some point, I mean, after the second one, Jamie Lee Curtis is nowhere in the franchise until Halloween H2O, which
Mhm.
already, what title is that? Like I haven't seen
Wait,
seen
what?
any of them after the second one, but I just know
Halloween
that
H2O?
she's back.
Yeah,
And then
the title doesn't really give it justice in the slightest.
like doesn't she die
What does
in
the
that one
H2O
too?
have to do with anything?
You think she dies.
But then she dies in Halloween Resurrection. Is that a movie that exists, or did I just make that up?
That I'm not. See,
Wait,
that's
hold
the
on.
thing I don't know as much about.
Halloween Resurrect.
Did I just make that up? I feel like I did.
No.
Yeah, it exists.
Oh, it does exist. Okay, thank
Yeah.
God. I'm not crazy.
2002.
All right.
Oh,
Oh,
that-
2002.
oh.
Yeah, July 12th, 2002.
Yeah, so
Damn.
H2O was right before that, and the reason why it's called H2O is Halloween 20 years later. So just
H20. Yeah.
that makes sense. But everyone calls it H2O. And that's still crazy. But pretty much Jamie Lee's character pretty much fakes her death, and she does this like multiple times throughout the series. Because in the new series, she faked her death again because she was hiding from Michael because she has a whole family, and she's
right.
able to find out that she has a family.
Okay.
So we'll see if it happens again in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, the next one's actually coming out this year. I was wrong. It's
Oh.
not in a couple of years. It's this October.
I'm
And I love how, like, one of the
Sick.
creators is Danny McBride, like, the comedian.
What?
Yeah, like, he's, like, the one that, like, came in and was just like, we're gonna remake Halloween with
Oh.
with Laurie Strode.
that. I mean, it's a smart idea, especially for people who are like me, who obsessed about the original films of these. But yeah,
Oh yeah, I've been meaning to bring this up too. In Friday the 13th, just to hop back to that one for one quick second. He uses a machete, right? That's like obviously the classic weapon that
Yeah.
that Jason Voorhees uses. But that machete does not act like any machete I have ever interacted with. That is a
Eyes long.
stiff and incredibly thick machete if he can pull the same stuff off with something like that. You can't stab through like a door or something with one of those. They're like super flexible. So I love how they like pull in that like maybe not sort of thing, you know? You get that like the cheesiness of it too.
Oh, I did want to ask you guys, how did you, because I didn't mention this, and I didn't know if you guys knew this already. What did you think about the aspect of the main killer being Jason's mom in the beginning of it all?
I liked that.
Loved it. I mean,
That's what's up. Yeah.
I mean, growing up, I kind of got every horror movie spoiled for me, basically, because like when I was a kid, I stupidly would watch like those Watch Mojo videos all the time. I'm like, I don't know why I would do that, because like now I would be like, oh, I want to watch this horror movie. Oh wait, I got spoiled this 5 years ago, and I can still remember it. So I
like
knew,
how they did that.
Yeah, I like love how they did that in Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it's super interesting how they actually bring Jason into the franchise in the second one,
Mm-hmm.
because like it's literally completely unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make sense though, because throughout, whenever it's like a local person that gets killed, they're like, it's you, and then they just die. So it's like obviously not some being that is coming back to life. It's somebody that they know. So that was like a really interesting beginning for it. And it would have been neat if they, I mean, it's still kind of tied in with that, with like the mom haunting Jason like post-mortem, and like he's like obsessed with following what mommy wants.
Yep.
It's kind of
like,
sad in that aspect too, though, because
it's kind of sad too. Yeah.
Like Jason wasn't really. He didn't really mean to. You know, like he wasn't 100% well, and his mom just kind of.
He kind of got hermited somewhere, I'm guessing. I don't really remember the second movie.
Yeah, they don't really explain it like completely, but a huge aspect is Jason's mom thought that he died as a child, like when he drowned. And he did drown, but he actually lived through the drowning. Like he was able to revive and live. And he only has the mind of like an 11-year-old boy, because fell under. He had no social interaction after that, and he doesn't really start his killing until he finds out that his mother's dead, and that's kind of what drives everything.
And he just happens to be freakishly strong.
Yeah, and he just has a really close bond with his mom. He just really wants, follow in her steps.
At least in the first movie.
It's not Norman Bates level, but it's still like more sad.
Yeah, it's a lot more, I think, damage that he went through. His only experience as a kid was almost dying, no one finding out that he survived, finding out that his mom is dead, and that the reason she died was because she was revenging his death. And he's like, well, no, revenge hers.
Exactly.
Ongoing. And they mention this in Freddy versus Jason. They like bring back Jason's mom, and they like show an aspect between them two, like her spirit, I guess, still communicates with him, and it's like, I need you to pretty much continue what we started. I want you to continue this so that we can stay alive, so that they can stay scared of us, so that, like, this doesn't happen again, or something like that, where like in reality mom just wanted, no one wants their kid to die that young, because teenagers were off doing teenagerly and not teenager stuff out in the world, not paying attention to the kids who are at the camp.
Exactly, yeah.
And then just a question out of curiosity, what do you think, out of all the weapons, out of anything that you could use, what do you think would be like the scariest weapon to have in a horror movie? For the main antagonist?
Oh my god. That's a difficult question.
First thing that popped in my head, of course, chainsaw is always classic, right? So I don't want to say chainsaw. A sledgehammer.
Oh my god.
Like a huge sledgehammer.
Oh jeez.
Imagine, bro. Like how
I don't want to.
That's. I'm like no, wait, hold on. I'm talking about you know how with the axe, right? You bust down the axe, or like with a knife, they like chop down the door, right? They start like stabbing through it and stuff.
Oh, you just throw a sledgehammer through a door.
Bust it down with this huge.
Oh, wait, I didn't even think. Yeah, I want like a heavy duty like.
I want a sledgehammer.
Fighter sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I'd say that like the main antagonist for horror films should be a wrecking ball operator.
Yeah.
Not
Or like
gonna lie,
excavator, just like.
or a dude with an excavator.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like the movie Christine where the car's haunted, but no, it's a
Yeah.
wrecking ball.
Yeah, that'd
Like-
be cool. Huh.
Oh my god. There's actually a movie that exists. It's on Prime Video in Canada at least. So I haven't seen it yet, but I want to. It's called Rubber, and it's about a haunted tire
Yeah,
that kills people. And
it's like running around.
It's
like
it's
slams
not
on
even
things.
like an actual like the metal part of a car wheel. It's just
Mhm.
the rubber tire.
Mhm.
And I watched the trailer. It's hypersexualized for some reason, and it's just this tire that goes around and kills people in this like desert town.
Yeah.
And it is the funniest idea I've ever heard. It's just ridiculous. And it's from like the recent years too. It's not an old movie.
It's not very old.
It's
When
2011.
it's,
That is-
Yeah, 2011. Oh my god.
Oh, and it's a French-made independent film.
It's French?
Yeah.
Wait,
That is
no.
which independent. So
I
it's
just like
made
400.
by
Look at that.
people, but it's
Oh my god. It's a Canadian movie. No way. Wait, really?
Oh,
Are you serious?
made by
That is so funny. It's
No.
the director's a Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Canadian-based film.
That is so hilarious.
That is
it's
awesome.
horror/comedy.
Okay,
Love those.
everybody that's listening to the podcast, watch the 2010 film Rubber.
Yeah, go watch. it.
Next time Jasmine comes on, we're gonna talk about Rubber.
I
Oh my god.
right now and watch it as soon as possible.
It's,
Crazy.
it's a horror comedy. That's what it's classified as. So it's not supposed
It's
to
a
be taken
remake.
seriously. It's a remake?
Yeah.
Oh
No.
my god.
Wait, there was an older movie called Rubber too. No, there
No.
wasn't. Was there? What? It's got to. Wait, hold on. I'm confusing myself.
I'm looking now.
Hold on. Okay, so no, it isn't. Never mind. I'm. Okay,
Wait.
I'm
Okay, I
I'm going insane.
the same thing. Oh no, that's different. Okay. It says remake of Rubber 2019. But I think that's something else.
It might be a film we can't really talk about on the podcast.
Not opening.
Or we can, but we'd have to put the explicit content warning.
Yeah, we'll hold off. We'll hold off.
But anyways, everybody listening, please watch the Canadian horror comedy film Rubber, because we will talk about it in the near future. That is hilarious. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have to like look up just campy, good old horror film.
Like
sure.
Pieces.
Pieces?
You haven't heard of that one?
No.
Uh-uh.
Look it up. It's like it's another classic like slasher film like that too, where this guy like he gets like pieces of these people and he like stitches them together to make like some Frankenstein thing.
Oh, there's a remake called Patchwork.
Super campy.
I haven't seen
super
Patchwork, but I
cheesy.
know about it.
I've seen
awful.
Patchwork and it's really oddly grotesque and weird, but
Yeah.
kind of a good story.
Okay.
So I'll definitely have to look up that movie too.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Also speaking of because the reason I brought up that weapon question, like what would be the scariest weapon, is because I saw there's another movie called The Burning. This guy uses giant edge clippers.
Oh my god, I don't like that. That's
Like the Scissorman from what's it called? The Dark Tower? Bell Tower? The Tower?
the
Some,
dark.
like old point and click adventure game?
Oh,
Clock
No.
Tower.
okay.
Yeah, the Clock Tower. So this is called Clock Tower. This dude uses like a giant pair of scissors.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So many different things. And then there's like, there's something about just the idea of being a antagonist with a hook from like I Know What You Did Last Summer. The guy
Or Candyman?
hooks everyone.
Oh yeah, or like the like the really stupid like story that was like a meme online? Man door, hook, car, hand door. I don't know if you guys have read that.
No.
Man door, hand, hook, car, door.
No.
Wait,
I
really?
haven't.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do a dramatic reading, and then that could maybe be the closing of the podcast. Man, door, hand, hook, car, door. Okay.
Wasn't
So
there dude with the hook for a hand in Candyman too?
Candyman,
Oh, yeah.
I think he does have one. Yeah,
Have y'all seen Candyman?
I've seen the
Yeah.
original. The remake's
Yeah, we
coming out
need to
this
do an
summer.
episode on that.
The
Oh,
remake
yeah.
is coming this
Oh
summer.
yeah, there's a remake.
Produced
huh?
by Jordan Peele, I think.
Yeah, I'm really
I did not know that. Whoa. Okay.
adding so many like they're supposed to be like modernizing it and introducing like racism aspects of
Interesting.
serial killers. So I'm excited.
Oh boy.
That'll be really interesting. Yeah, because that is like they kind of glossed over that in the original movie. Like there is a lot of undertones of that, but it's never focused on. Okay, here's a dramatic reading. Man and girl go out to drive under moonlight. They stop on a side of road. He turn to the girl and say, "Baby, I love you very much." "What is it, honey?" "Our car is broken down. I think the engine is broken. I'll walk and get some more fuel." "Okay, I'll stay here and look after our stereo. There have been news report of stereos being stolen." "Good idea. Keep the doors locked no matter what. I love you, sweaty." Oh my god. So the guy left to get full for the car. After 2 hours, the girls say, "Where is my baby? He was to be back by now." Then the girl hears a scratching sound and voice say, "Let me in." The girl doesn't do it, and then after a while she goes to sleep. The next morning, she wakes up and finds her boyfriend still not there. She gets out to check, and man door, hand hook, car door.
Yo.
That was like a creepypasta that was
That
like
reminds me
posted
of,
online somewhere.
That
Oh
reminds
my
me of the
God.
Who Was Phone. Have you heard the Who Was Phone?
No.
It was like one sentence. I'm gonna read it really fast. He says, "So you're with your honey and you're making out when the phone rings. You answer it and the voice goes, 'What are you doing with my daughter?' You tell the girl. She says, 'My dad is dead.' Then who was phone?"
Then who was phone? Oh my god. So anyways, I think we need a modern retelling of man door, hand hook, car door and
Yes.
the
Yeah,
phone.
that needs- yeah.
Okay, one more thing I kind of wanted to bring up before closing it out is for Friday the 13th, I really found it interesting how I always thought that it was, oh, Jason is just this like indestructible human being, which he turns into, but like
Yeah.
it isn't until like the fourth or fifth movie, I think, where Jason actually dies,
Mhm.
and then the next,
Yeah, he does.
and then the one after that is Jason lives, and lightning strike, brings his corpse back to life, and then that's when we get to see like the like rotting Jason, which is like
Yeah.
the one that everybody knows now, and like that, I always just found that really interesting how they just like basically had this guy keep on surviving and thriving throughout like the first four. Well, with not counting the first movie, but like the second to like the fourth or fifth. And it's just like, oh, he's just that brute force that can survive this, but then he just kicks it, but then comes back. That was
that's
like,
whenever he becomes supernatural, right?
yeah, that was always really cool because like I still haven't seen Jason Takes Manhattan and Jason X, which I
Jason
desperately
Stays.
want to see Jason X because that
You don't
is so funny. I want to though. That's the thing. Even if I don't need to, that is like top of the list. I want to see Robo
Like the
Jason in
Leprechaun
space.
movie.
The what?
But they always end up going to space. Have you ever heard of that one?
Leprechaun go to space?
Yeah, Leprechaun goes to
That's
space.
the fourth
Leprechaun-
one. That's the fourth one, I think.
I
And there's,
haven't
like-
Yeah.
seen that, and I need to now.
And then there's like
Leprechaun.
Sharknado in space. Every horror movie
Yeah.
franchise needs to, at
It
the
just
point
goes
where
to
there's
space.
7 movies, they need to go to space.
I want to see a Freddy Krueger in space. bro.
I know. I'm ready for Freddy in space. I
That would
need
be
it.
so cool.
Child's
that would
Play
actually
in
work.
space.
That would actually work a lot better than the other movies in space because it's like falling asleep.
That's true.
People sleep in space.
Man door,
Oh my
hand hook, car door in space.
In space, yeah.
That would be a great watch.
Oh my gosh. Who is Phone Space?
Whose phone
Yes,
space?
was phone.
No, like not who is phone in space, just who is phone space.
Who was phone space?
Oh my god.
I love
That
it.
would
I
be
love
great.
it. We have to have that creature each of them.
Yes. Okay. I think we'll just like we'll cut this part up. We're just gonna figure out a way to finish the episode. Like a
No,
cold.
dude, here, look, I got you. End it right now.